Welcome to BookWhispers. This playlist is designed to help ninth class students of the Sindh and Karachi board improve their English reading skills, all with a clear, native English accent. If you're looking for the same chapters with Urdu translation, just click the link on the screen or check the description below for the full playlist. And if you find this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. The last sermon of the Holy Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Our Holy Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is the last of the prophets. Holy Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, was born in 571 AD at Mecca, Saudi Arabia, in a respected Quraysh family. The Quraysh used to worship idols and did not believe in one God. Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, asked the Quraysh not to worship their false gods. He told them that he was the Prophet of Allah and asked them to accept Islam and to worship the one and only true God. Most of them refused to accept Islam. They thought that he was against their gods and their ancestors. They opposed this new faith so much that the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, had to ask the believers to migrate to Yathrib, a city 320 kilometers, 200 miles, north of Mecca. But with time, as many people started accepting his message and converting to Islam, the Quraysh became more aggressive and started making attempts on his life. Hence, when Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, got positive signals from Yathrib, he also decided to emigrate there. After 8 days' journey, he reached the outskirts of Yathrib on June 28, 622, but he did not enter the city directly. He stopped at a place called Quba, a place some miles from the main city, and built a mosque there. On July 2, 622, Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, entered the city. This event is known as Hijrah and marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. Yathrib was soon renamed Madinat un-Nabi, literally City of the Prophet, but un-Nabi was soon dropped and its name became Medina, meaning the city. At the time of arrival of Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in Medina, the city had 4 broad groups of people. There were the Muslims, including those who were from Medina and those who had emigrated from Mecca. Then there were the hypocrites, that is, those who embraced Islam in name only but actually were against it. Additionally, there were the people from AWS and Khazraj, who were still pagans but were likely to accept Islam. Finally, there were the Jews, who were huge in number and formed an important community there. In order to ensure that all these people lived peacefully with each other, Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, invited the leading personalities of all the communities to discuss this matter. He wanted the different groups to reach a formal agreement for harmony among the communities and for the security of the city of Medina. He succeeded in drawing up the Constitution of Medina, also known as the Charter of Medina, through which a kind of understanding was developed among all the communities living in Medina. It mentioned the rights and duties of the Muslims and the Jews of Medina, gave freedom of religion, and prohibited any alliance with the outside enemies. It also declared that any dispute would be referred to Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for settlement. In later years, he unified the different Arab tribes under Islam, carried out social and religious reforms, and administrative developments that further consolidated the Islamic community in Medina. In the year 10 Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, undertook his farewell pilgrimage to Mecca. This farewell pilgrimage is one of the most significant historical events for the Muslims, for it was the first and last pilgrimage made by Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as an occasion when he taught Muslims how to perform the Hajj. Moreover, it was during this Hajj that he delivered his last sermon in the Urana Valley of Mount Arafat on the 9th of Dhu al-Hijjah, 10H, March 6, 632. There were countless Muslims present with the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during his last pilgrimage when he delivered his last sermon. Delivering his last sermon, Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first of all praised and thanked Allah, and then said, "O people, lend me an attentive ear, for I know not whether, after this year, I shall ever be amongst you again. Therefore, listen to what I am saying to you very carefully, and take these words to those who could not be present here today." Then, amongst other things, he gave the following messages. O people, regard the life and property of every Muslim as a sacred trust. Return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. Hurt no one so that no one may hurt you. Beware of Satan, for the safety of your religion. He has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things, so beware of following him in small things. O people, it is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women, but they also have rights over you. All mankind is from Adam, and Adam was created from dust. The noblest of you in Allah's sight is the most God-fearing. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor does a black have any superiority over a white, except by piety and good action. I, therefore, crush under my feet all the false claims to greatness and superiority founded on blood or wealth. Every Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, and that the Muslims constitute one brotherhood. Nothing shall be legitimate to a Muslim which belongs to a fellow Muslim unless it was given freely and willingly. The Holy Prophet completed his last sermon by saying, "Be my witness, O God, that I have conveyed your message to your people." The messages conveyed in this sermon are for all times. If the Muslims follow these messages, the result will be a fair and equitable society in which there will be honesty and justice, and meritocracy will be the guiding principle. Shah Abdul Latif Bhai. Shah Abdul Latif Bhai, who is lovingly called Lal Latif by his devotees, was a noted Sindhi Sufi scholar, mystic, saint, and poet. He is considered as the greatest Muslim poet of the Sindhi language. Information about the life of Bhai has mostly been collected from oral traditions. A renowned Pakistani scholar, educationist, and writer of plays, dramas, and stories, Mirza Khalid Beg, is said to have collected details about the early life of Shah Bhai from some of the old people living at that time. These people had heard these facts from their fathers and grandfathers, some of whom had seen Shah Latif in person and had even spoken to him. As a Sufi poet, Latif's Urs is held at his shrine every year on 14th Safar, the second month of the Muslim calendar. Thousands of people gather and listen to the saint's songs sung on the tamburo. Many learned men read papers that tell about Latif's life and his poetry. Some of the key aspects shared by different scholars about Lal Latif are given below. Background and family. Shah Latif's ancestral roots lay in Afghanistan. Some historians say that the Shah's father, Syed Habib Shah, migrated from Matiaru, his ancestral home in Afghanistan, to Bainpur in Sindh, in order to gain spiritual contact with Bilal, a local pious man. Others say that his ancestors migrated to Sindh from Herat. Sindh was then a center of Muslim culture, and Shah Latif's ancestors liked it so much that they decided to make it their home. The name Bedtime. In 1742, Shah Latif left his home and went to live on a mound at some distance from his village. A mound of sand is called Bit in Sindhi. Due to the fact that he lived on this mound for the rest of his life, Shah Latif came to be known as the Saint of Bit. To this day, he is famous all over the country as Shah Abdul Latif Bedtime or Shah Latif of the Mound. Early life and education. Shah Bedtime was born in 1689 AD/14th Safar 1102 in a small village called Hala Haveli, a few miles to the east of the present town of Bit Shah. Latif was raised during the golden age of Sindhi culture. His first teacher was Akhund Noor Muhammad Bhatti, but mainly he was self-educated. Although he received little formal education, the Rizalo provides proof that he knew Arabic and Persian quite well. Various references in Shah Jo Rizalo indicate that he had in-depth knowledge of the Holy Quran and the Hadiths. His poetic collections included the Masnavi of Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi and Shah Karim's poems. Youth. Young Latif had a very sensitive mind. While he was only a boy, he started composing poetry. His admiration for the beauty of nature filled his heart with the love of God. In 1713, the Sufi poet married with Bibi Saida Begum. His wife died at an early age, before she could have any children. However, Shah never married again. His heart turned more and more towards religion and devotion, and he felt restless. He found it difficult to live a normal domestic life. Spiritual growth. Latif's love of God grew more and more, to the extent that he found pleasure only in devotion. As a result, he spent most of his time in prayers and deep thinking. His spiritual power grew stronger with prayers and devotion, so much so that people began to be attracted towards him. Anyone who came to him was strongly impressed by his gentle ways, and his followers increased day by day. Close to the mound on which Latif came to live is a natural lake. His poetic nature loved the calm atmosphere. He would spend much of his time sitting on the bank of this lake. As he sat there, he prayed to God and sometimes composed verses in his praise. Death and remembrance. Latif died in 1752 on the mound where he had lived. He was buried on the same mound. It is said that one day he ordered the musicians to play music. They played continuously for 3 days. When they stopped playing, they found the poet dead. A famous king of Sindh, Ghulam Shah Kalhoro, was so devoted to him that he built a grand mausoleum over his grave. The lovely white dome of the shrine represents the purity and dignity of Latif. His devotees collected his poetry, and this collection is called the Rizalo of Shah Abdul Latif. Every year the devotees celebrate his Urs, which commences on 14th Safar and lasts for 3 days. Shah Latif's poetry. Shah Abdul Latif was a sensitive, gentle, and kind soul. He was a Sufi in the true sense of the word. The word Latif literally means fine, delicate, tender, elegant, and light. This meaning is truly reflected in both his poetry and his personality. Moreover, he was a poet of the people, so he wrote in the language of the common man. In his poems he writes mainly about Sindh and its neighboring regions. However, he also mentions distant cities, such as Istanbul and Samarkand, and also talks about Sindhi sailors, Samundi, their navigation techniques, and their voyages as far as the Malabar coast, Sri Lanka, and the island of Java. Here is the translation of one such verse. Clouds return, and once again it rains. Lightning flashes from all sides, and with it, some go to Istanbul, others turn to the west. Some shine bright over China, and others take care of Samarkand. Some wander to Rome, to Kabul and Kandahar. Some lie on Delhi, Deccan, thundering over. My beloved Allah, may you always make Sindh a land of abundance. My beloved Allah, may you make prosperous the whole universe. Shah Abdul Latif Bhaitai, Sir Sarang Shah Jo Rizalo. His collected poems have been compiled in Shah Jo Rizalo, which has been translated into English, Urdu, and other languages. His spiritual and mystic poetry carries a message of love, which makes it universal and acceptable to the entire human race. Shah Abdul Latif Bhaitai is, and always will be, remembered for his great poetry with love and reverence. Chasing Dreams. Jamil entered the courtyard in front of the shabby mud house, walked lazily, and collapsed on the charpoy in the middle of the yard, under the cool moonlit sky. Looking at Jamil, his father kept his cup of tea on the table and dragged his charpoy close to him and asked, "What's the matter, son? You seem upset." "No, father, everything is fine. You don't seem 0K. Let's have dinner, then we will talk about it." Jamil's mother and Aunt Sadori, an old family friend, came out of the kitchen with a tray of food and a jug full of water. His sister, Sarah, and brother, Khalid, picked the table and brought it close to their charpoy. Everybody sat around the table and started eating. Jamil did not move. His father asked him to get up and have dinner. Reluctantly, he got up and started eating. Everybody noticed that Jamil was upset. They cast sidelong looks at him while eating, but did not say anything. As soon as they had finished eating and the dishes had been taken away to the kitchen, his mother asked, "Has your result been announced, Jamil? What grade did you get?" In a sad tone, he informed everyone that he had achieved a good grade. "So, why are you sad? Has Sarah passed?" asked his father. "Yes. In fact, Sarah has got more marks than me." "Why didn't you tell me before?" "I was so worried," Sarah complained. "Sorry, Sarah. I was preoccupied with my own thoughts about the future. You see, you don't have to worry about your career the same way that I do." "What do you mean?" Khalid interrupted. "She is a girl. She doesn't have to worry about supporting her family. Only men have to worry about earning for their families," Jamil commented. "Come on, Jamil. We don't get education only for earning money. We do it for improving ourselves, and both males and females need it equally. Our Prophet SAW has said that seeking knowledge is obligatory for every male and female," Khalid explained. Jamil felt ashamed. "Yes, you are right. I agree with you." "I still don't understand why you are so worried," commented father. "Father, there is no college in our village or any other village around ours. The only college where I can go is 50 miles away in the city. It seems impossible that I can continue my studies, although I had dreamed that I would become a doctor and open a hospital here for the villagers, as they cannot afford to go to the city hospital. Remember how Uncle Sarmad died last year only because he could not be taken to the hospital on time." Jamil said. His mother quoted a Sindhi couplet which meant, Where there is a will, there is a way. Distances are to be covered. She then said, "We can ask Alabacheo to take you to the city in his horse cart." Aunt Sadori, who had been listening to the whole conversation, said, "I have a suggestion. You people have done so much for me. I think now it's my turn to return the favor. Jamil and Sarah can easily come and live with me in the city and study in the college." "Really? Can I really go and study in the city?" Sarah exclaimed. "Jamil can go, but Sarah should stay here and help her mother," said Father. Sarah quickly wiped the tear that had rolled down her cheek. She didn't want her father to know her feelings. However, Khalid noticed her emotions and said, "Father, don't worry about the expenses. Let both of them go. There is a big medical college as well in our city. Later, both of you can easily continue your studies there and fulfill your dreams," continued Aunt Sadori, addressing Jamil and Sarah. "Wow. I will also be a doctor and work at Jamil's hospital." Wonderful. In spite of his worries about managing finances for both of them, Father smiled. Soon, both of them went to the city with Aunt Sadori. Living in the city, attending college, and then the medical college was not a bed of roses. Both siblings had to work extremely hard to pass all the exams in the first go. They could not afford to fail in any subject. To meet the expenses, both of them gave tuitions to children in the neighborhood. Their parents never let them know the problems they faced during all this time. In the fourth year, Father and Khalid had to sell a big piece of fertile land to pay their fee. The whole family bore the hardships because they wanted their children to realize their dreams and to work for the betterment of the villagers. 12 years later, "Uncle Norali, you should not eat rice, potatoes, and sugar," Jamil advised his patient politely. "Okay, son, I will follow your advice." Jamil held the old man's weathered hand and helped him walk outside the impressive hospital building, standing against the backdrop of lush green fields. For a moment he looked up at the building that portrayed his dreams. He asked Aladino, "Are there any more patients?" "No, there are no more patients," replied Aladino. "Okay, then call Dr. Sarah, so that we can go to the neighboring villages and examine the patients there." After visiting 2 nearby villages, Jamil dropped Sarah at her house, where her 2 young children were waiting for her. Jamil was very happy because Sarah had hosted a successful seminar for the village women and guided them to improve their personal and family health and hygiene. He then drove home in his small jeep, satisfied with the day's work. "Come on, let's have lunch," said his wife, with a beaming smile. "Lunch? You mean you people have not had lunch as yet?" he exclaimed. "No, we were waiting for you," said his parents simultaneously. "Okay, then let's have lunch together." Everyone washed their hands one by one and moved towards the dining table. At night, Jamil lay on his charpoy in the middle of the yard, under the cool moonlit sky, and thought about the long journey of his life and all the hardships that he, his sister Sarah, and their family had borne to fulfill their dreams. He felt truly grateful and blessed. The teacher assigned the class a project for the summer vacations titled The Great Visionaries. The students were asked to work in groups of 4 and find information about the Quaid-e-Azam and Allama Iqbal, the 2 great visionary leaders of the Pakistan movement. They were asked to develop a booklet, a newspaper edition, or any other form of visual presentation based on the collected information. The members of one of the groups decided to split up the information-gathering task. Huma and Tahira offered to look up information on some aspects of Jinnah's life, while Lubna and Farheen agreed to find information about Iqbal. They decided to share the information with each other through emails. Here are some of their emails. Dear Huma, here is some information that I have found about the Quaid-e-Azam. Personality and achievements. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was one of the most dynamic personalities of South Asia. His message of unity, faith, and discipline, and his determination and steadfastness, if made the guiding principles by the nation, can speedily set the nation on the path of progress and prosperity. He was one of the top barristers of Bombay. But his greatest achievement, which is unparalleled in the recent history of the world, is the creation of Pakistan. The world has seen many leaders who have obtained independence for their people from undesired rulers, but few have achieved what the Quaid-e-Azam did. He created a new country. He led the Muslims of the subcontinent to achieve an independent state called Pakistan, where they could live honorably, according to the teachings of their faith and culture. Regards. Tahira. Tahira, here is some more information that we can add in this section. Moreover, Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the only leader in British India who was popular not only among the Muslims, but also had a great respect among the people of other faiths, including the Hindus, Christians, Sikhs, and Parsis. Due to his tolerance and acceptance of all faiths, some Hindu leaders like Gokhale and the famous Hindu poetess Sarojini Naidu called him the best ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Best wishes. Huma. Huma and Tahira, you might want to add this vital piece of information in this section. However, he was very clear about one thing. While Pakistan would be a state where the Muslims would be free to practice the teachings of their faith and to prosper economically. This is in no way meant that the people of other faiths, living in the geographical boundaries of the new state, would, in any way, be lesser citizens. Farheen. Thank you, Huma. I agree with you. Now, here is some more information about him. Political acumen and contribution. Initially, Quaid-e-Azam was a strong proponent of Hindu-Muslim unity and an active member of the Indian National Congress. But, as an outstanding political leader, he very soon sensed that the Indian National Congress was leading the Hindus of the subcontinent towards Hindu-Muslim polarization. This, he realized, would result in political and economic victimization of the Muslims in the region. Therefore, he decided to leave the Congress and join the Muslim League. Soon after joining the Muslim League, he became its president. He, very intelligently, pleaded the case of a separate homeland for the Muslims and succeeded in getting Pakistan. This was despite strong opposition from the two big power players in British India, the ruling British and the majority Hindus. Have you found some more information? Tahira. Thank you, Farheen. We will definitely add this. Now here is the vision that the Quaid had for Pakistan. Aspirations for Pakistan. Quaid-e-Azam envisioned Pakistan as a nation-state, ensuring equal rights for all citizens of Pakistan. On August 11, 1947, the Quaid-e-Azam, on his election as the first president of the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan, declared, "You are free. You are free to go to your temples. You are free to go to your mosques or to any other place of worship in this state of Pakistan. We are starting in the days when there is no discrimination, no distinction between one community and another. We are starting with this fundamental principle that we are all citizens and equal citizens of one state." He also wanted Pakistan to be a state where justice and merit prevailed. He wanted the people of Pakistan to be united and to work towards making this new country an exemplary state. He said, "Guiding principle will be justice and complete impartiality, and I am sure that with your support and cooperation, I can 100K forward to Pakistan becoming one of the greatest nations of the world." Alas, this great leader had to leave this world before he could transform his ideals into practical steps. It is now our responsibility to set the future directions for this great country by implementing the Quaid's vision of Pakistan. If we truly want to pay homage to our great Quaid, we should try and do the things he wanted us to do and not merely praise what he did. On every Independence Day, we should think of what we need to do to take Pakistan forward on the way to peace and prosperity. Tahira, I think we now have enough information about the Quaid-e-Azam. Let's see what Lubna and Farheen find about Allama Iqbal. We'll then meet and decide how to present all this information. Best wishes. Huma. Dear Farheen, now that my cousin's wedding is over, I have managed to find the following information about the poet of the East. Personality and achievements. Allama Muhammad Iqbal, the poet of the East, was, no doubt, a great poet, but poetry was only one of his many accomplishments. He began his professional career as a professor of Arabic at the Oriental College, Lahore, after doing his M.A. in 1899. In 1905, he went to London to study law and received a law degree. He thus became a barrister by profession. But this does not mean that he gave up everything else. This versatile person continued his quest for knowledge in various fields, and, in 1908, he was awarded a PhD degree by the Munich University in Germany for his work on Persian philosophy. That is why he is also known as Dr. Muhammad Iqbal. Regards. Lubna. Thanks, Lubna. Here's the information that I have found. Political acumen and contribution. Allama Iqbal also took an active part in politics and worked for the cause of the Muslims of South Asia. He was elected as a member of the Punjab Legislative Council in 1926, a post he held till 1929. By then, he had become deeply involved with the Muslim League activities. Due to his commitment to the cause of Muslim rights in India, he was soon elected as the president of the Punjab branch of the All India Muslim League, a post he held till the time of his death. One of Iqbal's biggest political contributions is his Allahabad address, which he delivered in 1930 when he presided over the Allahabad meeting of the All India Muslim League. It was on this historic occasion that he made a definite demand for a separate Muslim state in South Asia. In his presidential address, Dr. Iqbal said, "India is a continent of human groups belonging to different races, speaking different languages, and believing in different religions. The Muslim demand to create a Muslim India within India is in no way without justice. For my part, one would like to go one step further. I would like to see the Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, Sindh, and Baluchistan unite under a single Muslim state." However, this demand shocked both the Hindus and the British alike, and they both opposed it. This demand for a separate state for Muslims took such firm root that at its meeting in Lahore on March 23, 1940, the Muslim League passed a resolution demanding a separate state for the Muslims of India. This resolution is known as the Pakistan Resolution. From this point onwards, all efforts were directed towards this end, culminating in the creation of Pakistan on August 14, 1947. Best wishes. Farheen. Moreover, He had clear ideas about what Muslims should do. Aspirations for Muslims. Lubna and Farheen, both of you have collected excellent information about Allama Iqbal. While we all know what the Quaid-e-Azam did, we often do not exactly recall the role of Allama Iqbal in the creation. Allama Iqbal died in 1938, 9 years before the creation of Pakistan. But he played a major role in its creation by planting the seeds of a separate state for the Muslims of India in people's minds. Quaid-e-Azam praised Iqbal's role in a message on his death. To me, he was a friend, guide, and philosopher, and during the darkest moments through which the Muslim League had to go, he stood like a rock. Allama Iqbal had a great love for Islam. He always advised the Muslims to remain true to their faith and to practice it in letter and spirit. In his Allahabad address, he said, "I have learned one lesson from the history of Muslims. At difficult moments in their history, it is Islam that has saved Muslims and not Muslims that have saved Islam. If, today, you put your faith in Islam, you will become strong and united once again and save yourself from complete destruction." Tahira. Health problems caused by mosquitoes. Malaria, dengue, and chikungunya. All 3 diseases are spread by mosquitoes. The symptoms of all these diseases are so similar that it can be quite difficult to identify them for sure without laboratory testing. But it is important to find out what the exact disease is for it to be properly treated. Let us try and understand something about the causes, signs and symptoms, similarities and differences, and the prevention of these diseases. Malaria. Causes. Malaria is caused by Plasmodium, a single-celled parasite, often transmitted by infected mosquitoes. It is injected into a person's circulatory system through the saliva of the mosquito. The parasite infects the red blood cells until they burst. Then, the newly developed Plasmodium from the burst red blood cells spreads and infects more red blood cells throughout the body, thus killing all the cells. This can lead to severe liver infection. Sometimes the infected red blood cells become stickier than usual and clot easily, which can lead to stoppage of blood flow to the brain, causing cerebral malaria. Signs and symptoms. Malaria is recognized through high fever. The temperature may reach as high as 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Fever is often accompanied by chills and may also include sweating. Patients may also suffer from constipation, kidney dysfunction, and disorientation. Dengue. Causes. There are 4 types of dengue viruses, all of which are spread by mosquitoes. An infected mosquito spreads the virus through its saliva when it bites. Dengue can also be transmitted from one human to another. For example, infected blood used in a blood transfusion can cause dengue. It can also be caused by organ donation and can even be transmitted from the mother to the child. Once the virus enters the body, it circulates around the body, attacking white blood cells and other antibodies, thus affecting the immune system. The virus further replicates within the cell until the cell bursts and dies. The death of the white blood cells results in leakage of other fluids from the cells, leading to low protein, fluid in the lungs and in the stomach area, low blood pressure, shock, and eventually death. Signs and symptoms. High fever is followed by severe body pain. Pain behind the eyes and decreased urine output is also common. Dengue-related eye pain often increases with bright light. Patients may also feel respiratory difficulties and intense headache. As the fever decreases, Skin rashes may start to appear. Another symptom is excessive bleeding, as the virus attacks the capillaries, the smallest blood vessels in the body. When the capillaries burst, blood escapes from the bloodstream. In severe cases, bleeding is common in the nose and gums. The loss of blood can lead to decreased blood pressure and may, eventually, lead to internal bleeding, shock, and death. Chikungunya. Causes. This virus is also transmitted through mosquitoes. These mosquitoes live and breed near stagnant or polluted water and infect humans with their bite. Although the disease is not contagious, it can spread from an infected person to others if the mosquito feeds on the infected person first and then bites other people. The chikungunya virus infects the muscle cells of the body. It stays there and reproduces until the cell dies. It then finds a new host cell to infect. Signs and symptoms. Chikungunya usually attacks the muscles, joints, skin, connective tissues, and even the central nervous system. It is usually accompanied by fever and skin rash. The skin rashes are almost identical to the dengue rashes. The patients may also suffer from headache, nausea, and vomiting. Because the virus destroys cells in the muscles and joints, patients experience muscle weakness and joint pain, which can be severe. Partial loss of taste is also reported by many chikungunya patients. The disease is rarely fatal, and the virus remains in the system for 5 to 7 days. Once one recovers from this infection, one is immune to it for the rest of one's life. Similarities and differences in the signs and symptoms of the 3 diseases. The chikungunya virus is transmitted by the same mosquitoes that spread the dengue virus. Both chikungunya and dengue have almost identical symptoms and disease processes, so much so that one can be mistaken for the other. Both display joint pain. However, joint pain and inflammation caused by chikungunya are more intense and pronounced. On the other hand, low platelet count, high bleeding risk, and pain behind the eyes are the main symptoms of dengue. The main symptoms of malaria are chills/shivering, followed by fever/sweating. These symptoms usually occur every 2 days. Prevention. Since there are no vaccines or medical ways to prevent these diseases, here are a few useful suggestions for protecting oneself from these diseases. Wear clothes that will keep you fully covered. Use neck coverings. Live in hygienic surroundings. Ensure that there is no stagnant water, whether clean or dirty, in your locality, not even in uncovered buckets, pots, cans, or other things. Apply good quality mosquito repellent lotion and any one of the natural repellent products. Take extra precaution from dawn to dusk. Seek medical help as soon as possible. All these diseases, that is, malaria, dengue, and chikungunya, affect a person's health. They affect the quality of one's work because it takes some time to recover from the weakness caused by them. Since they are all preventable and curable, it is important that we take all possible steps to protect ourselves and our family from these diseases. Moreover, we should seek immediate medical help if we observe symptoms of these diseases, because the earlier they are treated, the quicker is the recovery. The role of women in Pakistan's creation and development. Sana was sitting silently on the last bench of her classroom. Aliyah was sitting next to her and noticed a confused expression on her face. She asked, "Sana, what are you worried about?" "Aliyah, I don't have a computer. How will I gather the information for our social studies assignment? Important Women of Pakistan?" Sana replied, "Don't worry. All of us will sit together during the recess, and divide the task amongst ourselves. You can bring the information from the school library.
Yes,
I can do that. Sana nodded. Aliyah smiled. During the recess, the members of Sana's group took their lunch boxes and sat under the tall, shady neem tree, which was their favorite spot. The group leader, Aliyah, started off like an expert planner. Do you remember our science teacher taught us a problem-solving tool called IDEAL? Everyone replied, "Oh yes, we do, but it is used for science." Samir said, "No, it's a tool for solving all kinds of problems and for planning too." Ahmad explained, "First of all, we identify what the problem is. Then, we define what exactly we want to do to solve the problem. Next, we try and find out as much as we can about how to solve it. After that, we take the best possible action to try and solve it. Finally, we look back to see whether the problem has been solved or not." "So," said Hania, "our problem is doing the assignment for which we need to find information from different sources." "Exactly," said Aliyah. "We also need to decide who will do what and then prepare and give our presentation." Next, Aliyah told everyone to brainstorm and make a list of the women that they would like to work on. Everyone took out a sheet of paper and wrote many names. The list was very long. Finally, after a lot of discussion, they agreed on 6 names. Sana said, "I will bring information on Fatima Jinnah from the library books." Samir said, "My elder brother, Wakar Bai, has a laptop so I can bring information from the internet." Aliyah suddenly realized that Razia was sitting quietly and had not shared her opinions with the group. So she asked, "Razia, what about you? Which source can you access?" Razia replied shyly, "My father sells newspapers. I will ask him to bring old and new newspapers for this assignment." "That would be great," everyone exclaimed simultaneously. "I will use my uncle's smartphone to gather the required information," said Ahmad. "What is a smartphone? How will you search information on a phone?" asked Sana. "It's a mobile phone that has a touch screen instead of a keyboard for performing different tasks, and we can use internet on it also," explained Ahmad with actions. Aliyah informed that her mother had a big collection of magazines. She would use them for this assignment. Hania said that she would get information from some journals and books. Finally, they divided the list of the famous women amongst themselves and agreed to meet again with the information on the following Monday. In the next meeting, they shared their material and rehearsed their presentations. On the project day, they gave marvelous presentations because the group members had done their jobs very well. Below is the information that they had gathered through the various media sources. Mahtarma Fatima Jinnah, 1893 to 1969. She was Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's younger sister. She helped him in the struggle for the establishment of Pakistan. She left dentistry to live with her brother and support him. Her support continued for about 28 years, including the last 19 tiring years of his life. Through her, the Muslim women of the subcontinent were able to interview Muhammad Ali Jinnah and seek his guidance. The grateful nation gave her the title of Madri Millet, which means Mother of the Nation. Resource used for gathering information, library books. Presenter, Sana. Begum Ariana Liaquat Ali Khan, 1905 to 1990. She worked as an honorary secretary and typist to her husband, Liaquat Ali Khan, because at that time the Muslim League could not afford the salary of a secretary. She arranged meetings of the Muslim League women with the wife and daughter of the viceroy so that they could explain to them the issues and problems related to Muslim women. She also organized the Muslim Voluntary Service and, later, the Women's National Guards, consisting of 3 battalions, with 2,400 girls, in which she herself held the rank of a brigadier. She is also the founder of the All Pakistan Women Association, APWA. Resource used for gathering information, Internet, laptop. Presenter, Samir. Begum Jahan-Era Shahnawaz, 1896 to 1979. She represented the Muslim women at the 3 round table conferences held in London. She was the first woman to make a speech in London's Guildhall. She also traveled widely and explained to the people of other countries why the Muslims in India wanted a separate state. Resource used for gathering information, newspapers. Presenter, Razia. Professor Anita Ghulam Ali, 1934 to 2014. She was a popular newscaster of the English news and a well-known teacher of her time. She also wrote several articles and books. She served twice as the Sindh Minister of Education, in addition to being the Minister of Culture, Science and Technology and Youth and Sports. Professor Anita Ghulam Ali was also the founding manager of the Sindh Education Foundation, Government of Sindh. Under her leadership, the foundation played a remarkable role in promoting quality education and in bringing many out-of-school children to school, particularly in the rural areas of Sindh. The government of Pakistan recognized her tremendous contribution to the cause of education. She was awarded the Pride of Performance and Sitar-e-Imtiaz for her lifetime contribution to education. Resource used for gathering information, Internet, smartphone. Presenter, Ahmad. Bilquis Banu Eddy, 1947. She is a philanthropist who is also trained as a professional nurse. She is the widow of Abdul Sattar Eddy, who is a renowned social worker. She now heads the Eddy Foundation, which provides nationwide support and care to the public, such as shelter homes and ambulance services. She has received Hilal-e-Imtiaz from the government of Pakistan in recognition of her tireless efforts for the betterment of the society. She has also been named the Mother of Pakistan. Resource used for gathering information, magazines, journals, and books. Presenter, Aliyah. After the presentations, the teacher appreciated the effort the students had put in and invited everyone to comment on the presentations. Sadia stood up and commented that the information about these women had inspired her to dream big and to work for the nation. The teacher then asked a few students to share their future dreams with the class. Miriam shared that she wanted to be an educationist like Anita Ghulam Ali and her grandmother, who was also an educationist. She expressed her wish to work for the improvement of female education. Next, Hira told her class fellows that she wanted to be a philanthropist like Bilquis Eddy and wanted to protect girls from all troubles. Denial added that, like Abdul Sattar Eddy, he would like to help all human beings in trouble. The teacher was very happy to see the enthusiasm of the future leaders of the country. The secret of success. A long time ago, there lived a king who was in search of the secret of success. He thought if he could find out the answers to 3 questions, he would discover the secret and never fail. He thought and thought for many days, but the answers evaded him. So, he called all his ministers and asked them these 3 questions. 1. What is the most important time to start something? 2. What is the most important work to do? 3. Who is the most important person? But None of them could come up with a satisfactory answer. Next, he called all his courtiers and asked them the same questions. They discussed and debated for long, but none of their answers satisfied the king. He then called the wise and learned men of his country to his court. He discussed the problem with them for many days. They too were unable to satisfy the king because they could not see eye to eye with each other and ended up arguing amongst themselves. They came up with many different answers, but none of the answers provided any meaningful solution. The king then asked his ministers to announce that whoever answers these questions would get a reward of 5,000 gold coins. Many people came and talked to the king, but their answers did not satisfy the king. At some distance from the capital, there was a jungle. The king had heard that in the jungle there lived an old wise man who was considered a saint. He lived all alone. His fame had spread far and wide as someone who would solve everyone's problem. The king decided to consult the wise old saint. But the problem was he only mixed with the poor and needy. He did not mix with the rich and wealthy. Since the saint did not like meeting wealthy people, the king started thinking as how to approach him. The king pondered and thought deeply about a way to meet the saint.
Soon he came up with a plan.
He dressed himself in rags and set out to see the wise old saint. Since he wanted to appear poor and destitute, he asked his servants to remain behind. Alone, he headed straight for the saint's hut. When the king arrived at the hut, the saint was digging the ground in front of his hut. He was old and weak, and as he worked he was breathing hard. He tired quickly and stopped frequently to rest. The king approached him and addressed him directly. "Sir, I have come a long way to ask you the answers to 3 important questions." The king continued, "My first question is, what is the most important time to start some work? My second question is, what is the most important work to do? And third, who is the most important person?" Humbly, the king continued, "Would you kindly help me by telling the answers to these questions?" The saint paid no attention to the king and continued digging. The king waited for a few moments and then said, "Sir, you look tired. Let me dig the ground for you." The saint thanked him and gave him the spade, and the king started digging. After some time, the king repeated the questions and requested the answers. But all that the saint said to the king was, "Let me dig now." The king did not give him the spade and kept digging. He remained calm and did not lose patience. The hope that he would find the answers to his questions kept him motivated and determined. When evening fell and the light began to fade, he stopped digging and turned to the saint. He said, "Could you please let me have the answers to my questions now?" The saint remained silent and pointed to one side. The king glanced in that direction and saw that a bearded man with a dagger in his hand was running towards them. When he reached them, he fell down and fainted. The king straightway picked up the bearded stranger and carried him into the hut and laid him down on the ground. The king noticed that the man was injured, so he immediately took steps to stop the bleeding and, with the help of the saint, he bandaged his wounds. The bearded man fell into a deep, restful sleep. By now, night had fallen, and it was very dark. The king was too tired to return home. The saint invited him to stay the night, and the king accepted the saint's hospitality. The saint prepared some simple food and provided the king with a bedding of hay to sleep on. At break of day, the king awoke. He found that the bearded man too was awake. The king said, "How do you feel now?" The bearded man replied, I am better now, thanks to your majesty. Forgive me. I came to kill you because you had had my brother killed. I became your bitter enemy out of grief. I was hiding and waiting for your return. As you did not return, I came out of my hiding place. That's when your servants saw me. They immediately recognized me. They wounded me seriously, but I escaped. Had you not cared for me, I would have died. I thank you. Now, count on me as one of your most faithful servants." Saying this, he saluted the king and left. When the bearded man had departed, the king again asked the saint for the answers to his questions.
The saint replied,
"Your questions have already been answered. First, the most important time was when you wanted to help me. The most important work was the digging of the ground, and I was the most important person for you. Had it not been so, you would have returned and been killed." The saint continued, "The second time, the most important man was the bearded man. The most important work was dressing his wound. Had it not been so, you would not have won a faithful servant. You are very fortunate. So, this is the moral of the lesson. The most important time for doing anything is the present. The most important work is what we are doing now. And the most important person is the one whom we are with at the moment."
Ghazi's diary.
Ghazi loved writing about his feelings and experiences. He often wrote things in his diary whenever he got into the writing mood. The following are 2 pages from his diary. Wednesday, February 10th, 2015. 10:30 p.m. Village life. Today, I am once again reminded of my simple village and its loving and caring people. I am living in Karachi now, in a beautiful house that has many modern facilities. It is located in a locality that has clean streets and big houses that have beautiful gardens with a variety of plants and trees. But I am desperately missing my village, the simple mud house that we lived in, the simple toys that gave us so much pleasure, and the simple, carefree people amongst whom we lived. I wish I could get into a time machine and go back 60 years, back to my life in the village. The house that we lived in had 3 rooms and a kitchen, all spread out in a yard that had no boundary wall, just some bushes separating our property from that of our neighbors. My grandparents and 2 of my unmarried aunts lived in 1 room. We, my parents and siblings, lived in another room, while my uncle and his family lived in the 3rd room. We had a common kitchen where the women of the family cooked for all of us. The house in which I now live is made of cement and painted in beautiful colors with tiled floors. However, the houses in our village were all made of wood, straw, and mud. We had no furniture as such. We sat on the floor and slept on the floor by spreading some quilts that were kept on a wooden stand during the day. This was probably why very few people had knee problems. People of all ages comfortably sat on the floor, which exercised their knees. Our village did not have roads or streets. There were just narrow mud lanes, which became very slippery during the rainy season. Commuting from one place to another was not an issue. People did not need cars, buses, or even motorbikes to go from one place to another in the village. They just walked. All this exercise kept them healthy, and the absence of motor vehicles kept the environment pollution-free. Unlike the city, the village did not have big shops and supermarkets. There were just a few small shops selling goods that people needed for everyday living. One did not always need money or credit cards to buy things from these shops. One could buy things from these shops even if one did not have any money, because the village shopkeepers knew everyone by name and were usually willing to give goods on credit. The village otak, the place where men met in the evening, was where men spent their free time, shared news and gossips, laughed at shared jokes, talked about the weather, their crops and village issues, and enjoyed folk songs sung to the tune of the gaghar and tambora. The women had the village well, which was the center of all their activities. The village men and women shared their news and issues with people and enjoyed each other's company. They did not get their news from the television, learn about what was happening with people from the Facebook, get their entertainment from the YouTube, and talk to people sitting at the next table through SMS or email. All their activities centered on people in the flesh and blood, not people via devices. Alas, our luxurious lifestyle has compromised our health. The availability of devices has distanced us from people. The access to technology has replaced the human touch. I wish for a time machine to take me back to my simple life, simple people, simple interests, and simple wants and needs. Friday, August 4th, 2017, 11:45 a.m. We need to store rainwater. Monsoons once again. Floods everywhere. The much-needed rain is here. While water is an important need of life, too much of it can cause flooding and devastation. In Pakistan, floods create havoc when rivers overflow their banks during the monsoon season. Rivers have always played a very important role in the life of human beings. They've served as trade routes from the earliest of times. Before the building of roads and railways, most trade was carried on by boats and ships along rivers. In addition to this, rivers have been important for growing food. This was the reason that most towns in ancient times were built near rivers. However, rivers flood during the rainy season and run dry or have very little water sometime after the rains. One way that people have found to capture and retain the rainwater for later use is by building structures to hold the water and prevent it from flooding. This way, the retained water can be used throughout the year for growing food. One way in which water is stored is through barges built on rivers. A barrage is a kind of wall which blocks the flow of water. It has gates through which the water is allowed to pass in a limited quantity. Its aim is to control the flow of water in the flood season, store it and release it for irrigation through the canals throughout the year. The Gaddu Barrage, built on the River Indus, is one of the many barges built in Pakistan. It is built at a place where the river is 14 kilometers in width. It is designed to force the water, spread over 14 kilometers, to pass through a narrow barrage about 1 kilometer wide. The barrage is 1,355 kilometers in length. It is made in such a way that a flood of about 1.2 million cusecs can pass through it. The Gaddu Barrage has a system of 3 main canals. 2 of these are on the right bank and 1 on the left. The Begari Sindh feeder and the Desert Pat feeder are on the right bank. The 3rd canal, the Gaki feeder, is on the left bank. The 3 canals are amongst the largest feeder canals in the world. The barrage is meant to irrigate an area of 2.7 million acres. Most of this area lies in the Sukkur and Jacobabad districts of Sindh, and the rest in the Kalat division of the Baluchistan province. The Gaddu Barrage is one of the biggest barrages of Pakistan. It has also been the most difficult to complete. More than 5,000 engineers, technicians, and laborers worked day and night to complete it. It was put into operation on February 4th, 1962. The barrage has tamed the river and put an end to the damage caused by floods in this area. It is about time that the government started constructing more barrages to control flooding during the rainy season and to supply water throughout the year for irrigating more land so that Pakistan becomes self-sufficient in meeting its demands for grains, fruits, and vegetables. In fact, proper water management can allow us to grow surplus food items, which we can then export and earn foreign exchange. Thanks for listening to Book Whispers, where every story helps you grow. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with daily English stories and learning resources. Explore our playlists for more reading practice, vocabulary building, and Urdu translations. Until next time, keep learning and keep whispering knowledge.